Good evening, members of council. Just a brief update. I know last week we covered a lot on major projects, so this is just really on some service effort updates and some internal city initiatives. Just one brief item. I know last week I mentioned about the facilities grant submitted to the Allegheny Foundation regarding efforts to seek funding regarding studies that are needed for our sports complex and Casey Field with our consolidated school system moving forward. Yesterday we received word that Allegheny Foundation has funded our proposal request to assess those sites, and one, mainly ensuring that we're Title IX compliant for scholastic sports at those locations, and making sure that we also offer facilities that give our student athletes the facilities that they need to use for the modern day and age. So that's a $134,000 grant for studying and assessing and working on design elements needed for upgrades. That was what was asked for, and that was what was received. That was done with support from all governing bodies, meaning your two school boards, your two heads of the governing bodies, and the support of the Joint School Consolidation Committee seeking those funds. Another effort to report with regards to grants, the Allegheny Foundation actually just last week, late last week, provided our initial $15,000 of the $20,000 maintenance grant for Project Sparkle, which is good, so that as the utility bills roll in and if fire insurance, property insurance, those types of things, we have the funds in place to cover those costs and don't have to seek reimbursement. Moving on to service efforts, the Nettleton invitation for bid status. The goal is to have that on the street by November 29th to invite bids. We have a solid draft complete at this point. It's about 50% complete. It's just very comprehensive in that the lead, asbestos, other environmental things, wanting to make sure that the hazardous materials are abated properly, and that we're also working to include leveling and filling the site properly so that it's level afterwards. Rough magnitude of costs, we're looking at roughly what we're all in when you're talking about your contractor mobilization, demobilization, the special disposal, overhead and profit, license fees, notifications, and just the overall residential demo and final site stabilization costs. We're looking at roughly $230,000 for demo of that property. So that is the hardware store, the garage is adjacent, and the house that is next to it, the old brick house. And so it is costly, but we're working on doing it the right way so that then that site is suitable for redevelopment, whether it's private redevelopment or public redevelopment. The main thing is safety. Demo cost to date, so far this fiscal year, we've done 3 demos and we've spent $23,000 on demos. We have actually issued since July 10 business licenses that were new business licenses. We've actually processed 20 zoning applications. With regards to property maintenance, we've issued since July 49 notices of violations, 10 notices of corrections. We have 2 active court cases, 1 pending and 1 pending case that's going to court, and another case that has actually been closed by the courts. With regards to property mowing efforts, we have actually mowed 50 since July for a total of $12,201. There was actually a property that was mowed most recently, and it was valued at, as far as fees for mowing, over $3,000. Would we like to know who owned the property or where the property was?
I don't know where it's at, but I'll do it.
It was owned by a corporation. It was not a private individual residential owner. We are working with regards to some of these efforts with our NOVs, notices of corrections, and mowing. Instead of moving on the traditional lien route, we're going to be working on moving to collections, which is a more aggressive tactic in seeking revenue recovery for the tax dollars that are spent on addressing these issues. So we will be moving on that route, meaning for unpaid mowing fees, for fines and violations relating to property maintenance for refuse, debris, and nuisance properties, we will be seeking the civil route of collections and not seeking the lien. The lien also ties up the property and can complicate things further down the road. We've seen that with other properties when you put lien after lien after lien on properties, whether it's the locality or other private creditors. We're going to try the collections approach. Moving on, the properties that we've billed for mowing, touching on that piece, we've actually billed and reported to the treasurer 50 properties. So all properties that we have mowed since July have been billed and or reported to the treasurer. So we are working to stay on top of that. With regards to See Click Fix, staff is continuing to use that. We're actually working on expanding the number of request types that are in the system. So hopefully in the coming months there will be more open-ended types of requests that can be reported through that, as well as improvements to the overall look and feel of the system. Total building official inspections completed since our new building official was hired and began right around I think it was October 7th. It just began within the last month. We've done 18 inspections. Also pleased to report that fall cleanup was a success. We had over 150 tons, or it was right about 150 tons collected. And that was just through residential collection. That is, we do that, we target fall and spring cleanup as an offering to residents for a free incentive to clean up your properties. Total potholes that we've patched as a city since July has been 71. And I'm also pleased to report on the inquiries and discussions that we've had ongoing with regards to paving and paving prioritization. We've begun discussions on working to develop a pavement condition index, which is essentially the gold assurance and standard that VDOT uses, as well as other departments of transportation throughout the country, of actually having specific ratings for each roadway segment. Whether it's VDOT maintained or not, we will work to get an actual rating. And we have means of then working with our consultants on running optimization reports to then track in theory, deterioration of that, to then help each year prioritize paving. So we hope to receive the proposal for the pavement condition index and the optimization of our street information that we have on hand by the end of next week, which we should have that proposal fully fleshed out before Thanksgiving. We're excited to move forward with that so that we have it ahead of this year's paving schedule. One of the nice things that it will also include is classification of the street, building off of our VDOT inventory, and also include recommendations on the type of pavement application that would be best suited for that roadway segment. So that will also help us stretch our dollars further in the long run. Questions?